Good to see you. I feel like I keep up to date with what's going on in your life on LinkedIn because you're putting out lots of good stuff. But I appreciate you getting back to me. It's been a few years. You keeping well?
Yeah, no, it's the only social media I'm on actually. I still don't find it particularly good for my own mental health, but I'm on it for my sins. But yeah, keeping really well, mate. I'm living in Middle England, which is the only not a downside, but I do miss Scotland desperately.
Yeah,
And
mate.
you getting in the water every morning on your runs in nature is I envy it, to be honest.
Are you keeping fit? Because I know you've got the girls, you've got kids running about schools all day. Are you looking after yourself?
Term time is easy because I still get involved now and again, running about, even refereeing quite actively. We've got fantastic facilities, state of the art, so you can find half an hour, 20 minutes, even if it's 15 minutes to stay in shape. I think compared to other dads approaching 40, I'm doing fine. But compared to me 10 years ago, no, I'm not.
Yeah, well, yeah, mate. You can't. I speak to a lot of former pros, former international athletes, and it's amazing how body shapes change. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky that I have a strong metabolism currently. So I went vegetarian when I retired. So I think that's helped me not gain weight. And then just little kind of 30 minutes here or there, snatch moments is currently working quite well for me.
Yeah. Why did you go veggie? What was it?
Well, I promised to my wife initially. She was vegetarian since she was 10, and you know what it was like. We used to eat meat 3, 4, 5 times a day in excess, and there's some stuff that says it's not good for you. And then I did it, didn't really mind it, and now, to be honest, the reason is a global impact, like in climate change, in terms of the things you can do that make a difference. Are limiting your air travel and going vegan. Ideally, I'm not there yet. Going vegetarian are two things you can do, and it helps me sleep at night knowing I'm doing a little bit and influencing by role modeling more than by telling people, because that doesn't solve anything.
So when was the last time you had a burger?
I had a burger on Thursday night, mate, but it was a bean burger. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Slightly different.
But and what is that? Are your girls doing that as well? The kids?
So we're not too strict. My eldest is a 10, and she's decided to go full vegetarian. But you know, the other two girls who are, get this right, Nick, 4 and 6. The middle one calls herself a semi-vegetarian, just normal. So if we're at friends' houses or parties or at restaurants, then we allow them to do that. But in the house, we're vegetarians.
Yeah, and what's it like the fatherhood role compared to the director of sport to running the areas you do at school with those kids? The different mindset from fatherhood to teacher to...
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I think, and this may be contested by others, and it would be, I think to be a good coach, which I believe I am, and that's my role, the school director of sport and a coach. You need to love your kids. And that's the same at home or wherever. So if I take over a team, they are then part of my family, and I treat them as so with the same positive regard and unconditional love. And I think that makes a real difference to the group and what you get out of individuals. So there are differences, and it's not necessarily healthy to feel like that, but I think that's why I've been so successful with the groups I've taken, is because I genuinely care for each individual in that group.
What's it like when you're working with other coaches if they maybe don't take that mindset or do you try to start from the top and let it trickle down, that if you're going to be part of your team and your structure, you got to get into that kind of mindset? How do you set that up?
I think what's really challenging is people from a professional environment or sporting environment. I don't think we often felt that love from above. We were assets to move, shifted, and done as done. And some of the head coaches I've had have been pretty ruthless on that respect in how they treat you, and almost like, well, it's your job, get on with it. But you don't get that sustained, positive, and successful culture without some kind of care. When I was director of rugby, it was relatively easy because my team was quite small, and kind of the monkey do, monkey see kind of thing. They followed, they saw the benefits of. It's easier. Now I've got a direct line manager, about 20 staff members, and there's over 90 teachers involved in coaching. So it's far more difficult to make the same impact. So we've designed, collaborated to create a coach's pledge, and the first one on that is coach the person first. So that's not, obviously you can't tell them to love them, but we can do is encourage them to get to know the kid, understand their motivations, see in them more than just the sport, or more than just the pupil, or more than just the XYZ, and just take that time to build a relationship.
There's always something through every team, and I remember even back when I was playing, the relationship between the coach to be able to talk to the player when he's getting dropped. You know, it's easy when they're playing well and something's going in the right direction and you're winning every Saturday, they're scoring tries when they're supposed to be, but that time that they've got to make the big change, is that something you can get into your team? Is that something that you take the lead on, or big decisions? How do you filter it?
Look, everybody does it differently. I think it's really important to be honest with feedback, and I think some coaches tell you things you think they want to hear because that will make the situation easier. But it's about setting out, and again, if the kids genuinely know you care for them, or your players or your team, then they know it's coming from a good place. And I think often if you don't have that relationship built, then it feels like a personal attack. You won't necessarily be able to listen to it. But if you understand the individual, what they're about, what motivation, and how to communicate with them, then it can be done in a variety of ways. And actually what I try and do when I was director of rugby is actually the team picks the team. That makes it far more them leading it, them controlling it. They understand the expectations in that, as long as you have the process in from when they're young. So you're increasing their competence, so they get more confident, so then they can take control of the team, is ultimately the dream ticket.
Turn your volume off, you numpty.
I just closed my ear.
What sort of age can you start that? A team leads a team? Because I get it. I remember you have your captain's runs, and that's when you're ready to go. But like on a Tuesday night or whatever, way before the game, the coach says, "Right, lads, you run it. Off you go." Now, for men, for FPs, former people,
I guess it depends. I guess it depends what you mean by run it, because anybody can go on a Friday night and run through their plays.
Yeah,
that's not leadership. That's doing as you've been told through the week and copy and pasting. And often coaches will manufacture that in the week. Make sure you go through this, make sure you go through that. And I don't think there's any harm in that, because you're ensuring they're putting the things in place. Leadership in our environment is more about managing of the behaviors. So giving them a framework where they can have shared language, mental models to then help each other stay emotionally on it. So therefore, we talk about, and it's a model from Mark Bennett, who's a fantastic coach educator. If anybody is looking into team environment and culture, he calls it the rule of three, which is self, peer, then coach. So you set up at the start of the year saying you are in charge of you, nobody else. These are the expectations, these are the behaviors we want. Here's the technical, but actually it starts with behaviors. If you're getting it right, fantastic, and your friend will give you a pat on the back, etc., etc. If you're not, then sort yourself out. If you can't sort yourself out, then your friend steps in. So then you scan for the behaviors of the friend stepping in, correcting or rewarding that behavior, and then finally the coach will step in if there's common themes and they've had some reviews and some conversations. So you need to build in structure to be able to do that. And that's quite good being in an educational setting, because yes, I love the sport, but I'm also being able to learn from teachers and how you actually get learning through to people. And this is, and one of it is making sure they have frameworks or models to be able to learn. So little simple things like that can really help. So
as quickly as possible, you're probably looking for leadership groups within your teams.
Well, ultimately not leadership groups, because I find that almost pigeonholes people out of leadership roles. So there's a variety of where you can be leaders, and often it's that person that's loudest that will have that role. But you can be a social leader, you can be an emotional leader, you can be task, you can be external leader. So there's lots of different ways where the kids can be involved. So we again, and it's, look, if we give them all this information at once, it wouldn't work at all.
Yeah.
So we kind of try and structure over the years so they're getting drip fed different information. And one of those topics is athlete leaders and the roles you can take in that. So you might find one of them is a motivational leader, the other's a task, keeping them on strategy, and then there's a social leader that's checking in, making sure everyone's all right, etc., etc. But they can all find their, well, I'll be good at this. And that's really nice that all 15, 23, 35 can lead in some way.
Now, we've got pretty serious quite quickly here. Now, I remember our school tours, when we go back a few years now, and we used to go on tours, we used to play all these age group games. You and I had a bit of a giggle. We got away with it. We got up to nonsense. We had some fun. How important is that structure? That at the end of the day, these kids have got to have fun. Now, it might not turn into a career. It might not turn into a professional sport or a pathway that takes them to fame or whatever route, but the enjoyment that we had, because we played that, you went on to obviously international, but between the two of us, we had a right old laugh back in the day. And whether that was competing against each other or it was playing together, the fun side of it, I've got great memories. How important is that? What can you instill in the kids that are coming through to not lose sight of the fun and not lose sight of the enjoyment of what they're actually doing?
I think, well, to be honest, I think it's not the only. That's how it is the most important thing.
Yeah.
As you alluded to, the number of kids in our system that will make it as professional, you know, we've got 850 kids. If one of them makes it as a pro in any of our sports, then fantastic. We're very lucky to have lots of kids in academies, but it's 0.01% or whatever. So if we're shooting for that, then we're gonna miss. What we actually want to do is give everyone that lifelong love of sport. And therefore it's got to be fun, engaging environment. Now that's different for everyone. In fact, fun possibly not the right word. Enjoyment, because I really enjoyed pushing myself to the point of almost throwing up. I enjoyed the when we went to the army camps, or when we did the other stuff, as you say, those memories, they were horrible. There was no fun to be had. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. So making sure everyone has that opportunity to enjoy moments, and tours are a wonderful way of doing that. And I said we're very fortunate to go a few good places.
Is it possible, and I think I'm thinking about this with my kids, because the amount of times they're in situations that they're not enjoying, us as fathers or you as a teacher, like those army camps that we did at the time, we never knew we would look back on them thinking that was amazing. Yeah, I loved that. And those army boys that were up doing up drinking all night, and they'd come out, sprint us in the morning, they'd do all this. We were meeting these guys that never even met before. We didn't know these people existed, and we were getting in their environment. Is it possible to instill that on the kids just now when they're going through a tough session, or you've got them on tour at pre-season, to say, just dig in, you're going to remember this one day?
Oh, I think in a sporting environment, with the team you lead, it's easy, because as I said before, you define the behaviors as expected of your team. So one of our core behaviors is commitment. Now that's just a word on a wall. So each team has to define what commitment looks like to them and in their environment. So an E team's commitment will be very different to an A team's commitment on and off the pitch. So therefore you can use that with the power of 3 to ensure everybody's getting stuck in. And then we'll share the laughs and the memories and stuff afterwards. So I think that's easy. I find it more difficult with my own kids, because you desperately want them to be gritty. You know, you want them to work hard, persevere, but you're very aware that if you push them too much, then you're pushing them away. So it's finding those environments where the coach can push them and not have to come from us, so they learn it that way. But yeah, I think my kids hopefully will tell you what's important. They'll say, work hard, be nice. So you can drip feed these little mantras in moments. And my 4-year-old's mantra is trying, not crying just now. Yeah. There was someone on stage at a festival show the other night who was crying. She was like, trying, not crying. I was like, oh, I've taken this too far. I've created a monster. But I think there are messages you can have, but it's difficult if it comes from us, because there's always going to be a natural kickback. And in fact, I've been asked to coach my daughter's team next year, and I'm concerned about it. She seems up for it, but I'm genuinely concerned about that 2 hats, dad and coach.
I help out with the boys. I've got 2 boys and a daughter, but my 2 boys are in the same football team, and it's Longley Villa. I mean, it's just P1 and P2. Yeah, P1 and P3, and they're in the same team. I don't enjoy coaching them. Just them. I don't at all. I don't, and I don't know. And I talk about it to Abby. I come back and say, gee, that was hard, because I know they can do better. Yeah. I know they can try harder. Love coaching the other kids. Love shouting for them all and doing all that and speaking to their mums and dads and, oh, he's doing so well and great. And then my Hunter will miss something. I'm like, what, it's amazing how it's hard as a dad
It is
to
difficult.
coach your own kids,
Yeah.
and not be frustrated at things that you know they can do better.
Yeah, it is difficult. And I think the important thing is we're allowed to be frustrated. We're allowed to get things wrong as parents. We're not perfect. As long as we're rewarding intention and not outcome, and as long as we model the behaviors they want and we love them unconditionally, then we're doing the best we can. You know, my mother-in-law said we all screw up our kids in our own special way, and we will. We don't know what it is yet, but we will. But as long as we're there to love them unconditionally, and when we get it wrong, then we can say sorry and model that as well.
Yeah, mate, I hear you, and I'm looking through. Obviously, knowing you're coming on tonight, you're not on social media. There's not too much out there about you, but I found an interesting article.
Oh,
no, it's very current because you met Anthony Joshua.
Yes.
You met him, and I know the impact he had on you and the people that are around you. And a guy like that, a globally renowned sports star, superstar, to meet him, and from what I read of how you interacted with him, extremely humble and extremely kind with his time. What did you make of the weekend and what happened and how it unfolded?
Oh, it breaks my heart, to be honest, because you want to root for the good guys, you know, especially when you're in education. You want to be able to put these role models in front of people that say, look, this is how to make it. Living by your values with good character, etc., and you can get to the top of your game, which he is, regardless of the result at the weekend. I don't know loads about boxing, but he's far bigger. Why is he not trying to beat him up sooner?
I know.
And obviously after the event, emotions are running high, and he's done some things that he's now apologized for. But we're human, you know, like it's so, having been in that environment, and not that environment, because I wasn't just one person, I could hide amongst 22 people. I can't imagine the pressures and stresses he's under. And we're so quick in this society, or I feel that we're so quick to judge and cast hate towards people instead of empathy and understanding. So yeah, a devastating week for him and for British boxing, but I know he'll put his hand up, he'll go away and work hard, and he'll get them back at some point.
Yeah, it seems as if who knows what the structure around him is like, and he's, like you say, he's one man out there competing, but there'll be hundreds of people behind him.
Yes,
staff, from admin, from this, that, and the other, working on the AJ camp. Why nobody's grabbed him when he's charged straight back out? And then I flip it on its head and think, are his media and his agents thinking whatever he does here is going to be on the front page of every newspaper? Let's go, let's do it. Everyone will be talking about him. You know?
As you say, we literally have no idea. And in that moment, I'm sure his staff would have felt very similar. So maybe they felt as emotional or as unjust decision, or whatever he was feeling in that moment, and we just don't know. They're only human as well. And yeah, I'm trying not to speculate.
I know you're not giving me much. You've met the guy. You're basically his best mate. Tell me what happened. Mate, keep it on sort of the cultures, and let's go into team environment. What have you made of the All Blacks recently?
Again, I think it's really interesting because things aren't going well.
Yeah.
So people again who aren't in the environment, that's a really important thing, that aren't in the environment, tell you how things are going down, and they put it on LinkedIn, they put it everywhere, they give the 2 pence worth, and I have no idea. I don't know any of those people. I don't know the coach.
Get off the fence.
I don't know what's going on. Like, I've always envied New Zealand and their culture, and that's not because of them winning, although that would have been nice to do in a dark blue jersey more often. But having that sense of purpose, that bigger picture, the belonging side of things. And actually, I had to go on my own individual journey in rugby to find my own kind of values and scoreboard for success. And I love how they've gone about kind of, I think they call it the mana, or that side of things, and they've really dug deep into the Maori culture and the legacy, and it's bigger than just them. And I'm also envious of the South Africans or the Fijians who are really religious, because it's not about the game; it's about serving a higher purpose. And I think that's really important. And to be motivated, to be free, to be committed, is to take away your own ego and be able to be part of something bigger. And who knows if that's still a part of the culture there, if it needs revisiting, revamping, because groups do storm, form, norm, then perform, then crash, and then re-go. Could be a natural cycle. Yeah, sorry, not helping you there, mate.
Would you fire the coach?
How long's he been in?
What has he been in? A couple of years. They've backed him until the World Cup next year.
Then back him to the World Cup next year. And
they've brought in John Smith on the coaching panel, which I think is probably quite a good, if he's out there and he's looking for something to do. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, John Smith knows his stuff and was one of the names touted for the position itself. So conflict of interest possibly, but yeah, I think I don't know the guy, and they'll have the relations with him. They'll know what he's trying to do and the time it takes. But ultimately, if you're looking at sustained change, then it can take years. Now you could argue, why has it changed? Why has it not stayed the same? But changing behaviours and culture is really difficult. And so regardless of between now and the World Cup, who knows, mate? Because sometimes you get that immediate effect when you sack someone, the whole environment changes. And I have been, and I won't name them because I'm trying to be professional. I've been in environments where the coach, and only the coach, is the most poisonous thing in that environment. As soon as they go, there's this massive uplift because you just have been under this dark cloud. And if that's the case, if it is a poisonous culture, I don't know, then they should rip him out. If it's not that, and it's just about tweaking things and keep him.
This fence is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but I get it. Mate. I get it. You're saying it right. We could talk about Manchester United. We could talk about what's going on there. New coach, new structure, a lot of similar players. They're not getting results. Everyone's turning on them. Sell it, get new manager, get new owners. There's so much going on in these team cultures.
But they continue to get managed and continue to fail.
Yeah.
So God knows what's going on there and how deep it runs. That's incredible. I mean, the common theme that comes out in the papers is the egos in the changing room, and I think nobody is bigger than the team. And if there are people that think they are bigger than the team, then you need to have some stern conversations with them and say, this is the behaviors we align to here. If not, no way, shake hands and off you go. And in fact, a local club here had no dickheads on the wall when I was in visiting once. And I said to the coach at the time, that's on the wall, but he's a dickhead. Why is he here? And he's like, well, if I don't have him, he'll go elsewhere, X, Y, da, 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 da. And that team weren't doing so well. Fast forward to today, and they've done better, shall we say. And I'm sure people can figure out who it is if they Google where I'm at. But that person that came in got rid of the dickheads and didn't, nobody is bigger than the team. And if, look, I'll get off a fence because it's football, mate. I would get rid of the superstars.
Would you get Ronaldo go and do your thing elsewhere?
Look, I don't know, but the newspapers say he is a problem. So yes, I think despite his unbelievable skill set, I think he needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, I've no idea about football. I've only got in football since my boys started playing. Everyone that we meet, because I used to play a wee bit of rugby, is how the boys enjoying rugby, how are they getting on, are they doing rugby talks? They've never been to a rugby session in their life. They come to all the Edinburgh games, and we try to get back to Marseille for Watsonians games, but it's more the Edinburgh stuff that I do now, where we sort of enjoy our rugby and get around that. But it's funny how I want them to experience sports that I've never done. You know, I came through just with rugby.
But I think that's really important is actually, as long as they're doing sport. Yeah. So my girls, I don't mind what they do, but it's almost it's like education. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like eating your vegetables. You have to do sport. Now, which sport I don't mind, and we'll do our best to facilitate that, but you have to do it. And I don't care if you're no good at it or you're not enjoying it, harsh, but actually it's that important. And my girls didn't do rugby. They had no interest until a friend said, I go to rugby, why don't you come? and then suddenly they all go and they love it. Whereas they didn't like football because it was dominated by the one or two talented footballers. Rugby seems to be far more inclusive of those that aren't already good. But I'm sure, as you are the coach of your boys, that's not the case where you are.
What do you get yourself to many games? You go and watch Leicester, Northampton, local pro teams. You get to Murrayfield when you're back up here?
I don't go to the games. I've been to one or two games, but because I work on a Saturday, I get very little chance. What I try and do is get in for my own CPDs. So on a Monday or a Tuesday, going in and be with the team, sit in the meetings, just learn that way. And I think I learn more that way than watching a game. I've never been one for watching live sport. I've been more a do than a watch. But I'm getting more into it now. The kids like the Commonwealth Games, the Lionesses, the European Athletics have just been on. I'm starting to get into watching that, and I'm enjoying now watching live sport.
So that you're saying, you're going into a Leicester Tigers changing room or into that environment? You're allowed in a bit of access there?
Yeah, so Steve Borthwick, who's there, is fantastic. He every time I ask, and one of my colleagues, they're incredibly accommodating. I asked actually via the team manager, do you mind if I come in on one of my days? And they're like, and I was expecting to come and be able to stand on the sidelines and watch a session, but no, they said, yeah, no, always be in for 7. So I was in at 7 and with the coaches listening in, like there was a coach educator in, so I got to do a bit of that, shared my ideas. Just it was incredible. They're so open. I think that's lovely as well, because some people, I guess it depends what your purpose is. So I want to do as much for sport and for people as possible. So therefore I'll share anything, knowing that actually from that I'll be challenged, it'll spark new ideas, conversations, and I'll evolve. And I think he's possibly in the same, or they're in the same mindset, actually get people in here, see what we're doing, challenge us, make us better. So yeah, really fortunate themselves and Saints are more than happy to have us in. And obviously Wasps, because I was lucky enough to play there, I'm heading there this term actually to I've not set it up yet, so if Matt Williams is listening, I'm going to text you soon. But yeah, everybody's really kind, very sharing, and I find days like that really good to keep your finger on the pulse of the professional game.
With Leicester, have you had or spent much time with Kevin Sinfield?
I haven't. No, the day I was in, he was actually away doing one of his amazing charity events for MND. But everyone I've spoke to cannot speak highly enough of this man.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I want to get back in, actually, because I just want to see him in real life.
Just to get around these people. You know what he did on the pitch, but it's the same with people I've interviewed who either know him or played with him. And I interviewed Jamie Peacock a long time ago, and obviously knows Sinfield from Leeds days and all these sorts of things. And they couldn't speak about him in a higher regard. And just to see what he's done now for MND and for Rob Burrows, it's incredible how he's stepped up and just doing what he can for his mate.
It is. It makes you feel really inadequate, but in a good way that inspires you to do things. And he is just, what he's done for MND and Rob Burrows, and obviously all those involved in Doddy Aid as well. It's just, it's incredible to see. And who knows? Hopefully you're fine, but I'm certainly nervous about what the future holds.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of people from now my era coming out with MND, early onset dementia, with neurological conditions, and it's something that we have to be aware of and be checking in with.
Is that something you'd get checked? Would you go and get checked? Would you go and refer yourself to them?
Well, this is very topical, because I'm actually seeing the GP in 2 days to have a chat about it. I don't think I've got any symptoms. I don't think I've got anything to worry about currently, but I just want to know what I'm looking for, what I should be worried about. Should I be worried? Because I read something recently about the number of concussions that led to ECT. I can't remember the abbreviation of the term, but it was 13, and I've had way over that, and I've had 2 concussions where I was off for more than 6 months. So it's something that plays on the mind. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, but were you sparked out? Did you black out at these times? How bad did it get?
So I don't think so. But I felt that my aftercare was always good. And I think a lot of people coming out just now are saying, and I might be ruining myself from a lawsuit here, but I'm honest and true to myself. And I felt I was never pressurized to go back on the pitch. I felt like I had to jump through all the hoops. And in fact, was sent to neurologists when I had those longer ones. So when I have had incidents, I think that the aftercare was good. But you know, I played 250 professional games. I played from the age of 5 till 33. So yeah, you don't know. So I just want to check in with someone as opposed to just sitting here worrying on my own.
Good on you, mate. Quite right. It's a brave thing to do. It's a brave thing to do, as you don't know.
I was tempted, like, do you want to know? I don't know.
Mate, yeah. I don't. I think you would. I think, I don't know. I would want to know. I think, so I can prepare, so I can discuss it with my wife and
quit a job, go and have some fun.
It's or start doing things to, like, everyone that gets diagnosed, they start changing the world. They start putting a lot of effort. They start putting a lot of effort into things and changing their priorities and helping others. And it's incredible how from Doddy to Rob, obviously Ed Slater recently has been diagnosed. There's no stopping these guys. They have just literally changed everything. They've had the cards dealt, and they've stepped up to the plate, haven't they?
Yeah, I think it's really powerful, because I don't think anyone would question if they hid and were sad about it as such, and oh, woe is me. But they've just went, well, this is where I'm at. What can I do about it? Well, I can go and try and make a difference for everybody else and leave a bit of a legacy. But you know, knowing Doddy, he was an inspirational man his whole life, and it's no surprise that he's continuing to be so, even from the confines of his chair.
That's it. And I better give a shout out to Richard Ellis. He's a long-standing supporter of Doddy Aid. He's currently cycling Land's End to John O'Groats. I hope I've got the right way. But he's on his bike. He's on his bike right now. So anyone listening, you'll know he's called A View from My Camera. I hope I've got that right, on Instagram, Twitter, and all that. And he's a huge supporter of Doddy Aid, and he's out there on his bike at the moment. So please do support. Check him out.
Yeah, great shout out. And this is why the one thing I would like to be on social media for, because you miss all these wonderful stories. And great occasion, and that kind of seeing things a bit better. But I'm not going on it yet.
Oh, can we dive into that just a touch? What happened? Because I remember, I think it made the press that you'd had to come off social media, and what was going on?
I tried to make a bit of a deal of it, because I think it's really important. I on the whole, especially young people, I think social media is the devil. It's creating part of this mental health epidemic with the kids, where they're constantly comparing themselves to others. They don't understand anything about themselves, but just seeing everybody else. For me, the issue was simple. I had a lot of demons, which is normal. I've figured out, actually, self-doubt, worries, concerns, this voice in our head is there for good. It's got a positive intention, but at the time it was a real negative influence for me, especially when playing for Scotland. And what I didn't need was the world to have access to me to reinforce those doubts. So it's kind of like, it was almost, you know, Jeremy Vine gives people that shouldn't be heard on the radio a voice. And I felt Twitter was the same. You're trying to go about your day job, doing the best you can, living your values, and people just had direct access. And I remember somebody saying, oh, don't go looking for it. I was like, I'm not going looking for it. They are tagging me in. And I was like, I need a break from this. And I've never went back, to be honest. And yeah, off Facebook, off Twitter, Instagram wasn't around then, showing my age. And yeah, enjoy not being on it.
And how dark did it get for you? Were you married at the time? Could you speak about it? Did you seek help?
It depends. So memories, they blur.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite difficult. It's like, oh, when people talk about, do you remember this game? Do you remember that game? No, I don't. Do I think I've got dementia? No. I just think it's difficult to remember 250 games and timelines and where things are at. But could I be diagnosed with depression? Yes, probably. Did I go see someone? No. but I went on my own journey of learning, and that kind of really helped me. I did connect with someone at Wasps who was fantastic, starting to understand my internal world and the different personalities you have, or the different characters there. But the thing that really helped me was, I was at a point where rugby was, and I've mentioned this before in previous stuff on LinkedIn, is from 4 university and onwards, I was rugby Nick. That was everything. That was my whole identity, and I couldn't separate it. So when rugby went well, I was going well. When it went badly, I questioned my own self-worth. I questioned why my wife loved me, you know, why I had friends, etc. It gets pervasive, and it does get quite dark. So you had to figure out, well, what are these voices? Why are they there? What are they about? But ultimately, for me, the important thing was understanding I can't control how I play. I can't control what the coach thinks of me, or the fans, or the people on media. I can do certain things, as in not engage with Twitter, not engage with this. But what I can control is me and my values, my behaviors. So I went 1 week coming off Twitter after a yellow card against Wales, and being locked in my room for struggling to come out and just getting through it, to then 2 weeks later getting another yellow card. Not fantastic, obviously, but actually being okay. Because I knew through the week I'd been professional, I'd been hardworking, I'd done my homework, I'd been brave on the pitch, so I'd done the things I could control. And the yellow card was just a team yellow card, and everything else was fine. So that night I was okay. And something we do with our students, and actually I'll do it with my kids at some point when they're a bit older, is sport, your job, whatever you do, it's not your identity. It's your canvas to express your identity. Therefore, you need to know what you're about, so you can go out there and express that, instead of being worried about the sport or the job or the whatever defining you. And I found that very freeing.
Having known you for many years, we've not seen each other for a while, but knowing what you've achieved and what you're doing now, I say this to a lot of ex-pros. I've interviewed a lot of ex-pros, that the best thing, or the biggest achievement you might have might be in the years to come, rather than the caps that you achieved. And it sounds like, mate, you're on the path to do that with the people you're going to help and the kids you're going to influence, and the way you can talk about what you went through.
Yeah, who knows? So we learn through stories, and it's important we share our stories. And I think sport has been wonderful at the forefront of mental health, in terms of putting their hand up and saying, hey, I'm struggling. Here's my story. And that's really important. What I'm trying to do now is actually, okay, now what? So it's far easier to build a resilient kid than to fix a broken adult, for want of a better term. I know they're not broken, but going through stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what can we do and put in place now to make sure they can be more resilient, so people can understand themselves better? Now, who knows what difference I'll make? But my mindset just now is just, if I can make a difference to that one person in front of me, then fantastic. And if we share stories and it helps 1 or 2 or 3 people, then wonderful. But I still feel, to overshadow the career I've had, that'd be great. But I don't know if I ever will.
What do you think, Will? Have you? I know you'll have ambition. I know you're at a fantastic school, and Mr. or Mrs. Headmaster, don't worry when I ask Nick.
Doctor.
Your boss should not worry when I ask this, but ambition, Nick, you know, I mean, you're at such a good school, but is coaching professionally of interest to you? Is there other ambitions that you want to sort of go down different routes?
I'm sure I'll connect with a lot of people with this one. I don't know. I think it's one of the most difficult questions. And actually, I skimmed through a Stephen Bartlett, that Happy Sexy Millionaire, the other day, and he talked about purpose. He was like, it's nonsense. You can't find your purpose. Just relax. Everybody's desperate to find their thing. And that was quite refreshing, because since leaving rugby, I find I was on a path. You know, it's a well-defined. You're trying to get to British Lions. Ultimately, that's what you're trying to do. Didn't quite make it, but that's what you're trying to do, and play as many professional games, do as much as you can. Then it stops there. Well, what am I now? What's my next thing? And kind of, I know who I am, and I know I want to make a difference to people. The middle bit, I'm not too concerned about just yet. So it might be in schools. It could be in professional sport. It could be in the world of business. It could be in prisons. I don't know. But as long as I know who I am and that I'm making a difference to people, then that's a good starting point. To answer your question directly, because and you'll be getting annoyed at me sitting on a fence. I would love to get in a professional sport. It's not right for me and my family. And at this point, you have to kind of, well, I've had my career that dominated, go around the world, move when I did, jump when I said jump. It's, so now it's actually, well, you've got to take that into consideration. And professional sport is difficult. And I don't think professional sport would necessarily, it's a bit arrogant to say not ready for me, but I would just do things very differently. And I think people are doing things very differently now, which is wonderful. But having left professional sport, I think to get back in it would be nigh on impossible without sacrificing too much at home.
Would you like to play in a professional team now that you see the way sort of Leicester's structured compared to what rugby was like when you were playing?
I think. What do I think about rugby just now? I think rugby is boring just now, if I'm going to be honest.
Why is that? Why?
I think every team does the same thing. They just back themselves to do it slightly better than everybody else. There are a few who innovate, like Exeter, with some of their plays. But I don't find it as exciting. It is in some form or not. Someone at the front, someone at the back, in a diamond here or a diamond there, or it's very predictable. And I'm surprised nobody's doing anything differently. And that's one thing. So would I want to play just now? No, because when I was at Wasp, they, believe it or not, they were really heavily structured. Danny Cipriani is a wonderful player and he runs a team a certain way. And if you're not in that exact position, so he can do his no-look passes, then you're not in the team ultimately. And that's fine. That's the way it worked. And it worked really well, but it wasn't how I played. So therefore, looking at the structure of, no, I think is the short. I think there's got to be a bit more heads up rugby. I know we teams out there doing that. As I said, I'm not a rugby nose. I'm not watching all the rugby, but the stuff I see looks very samey.
And what about France, mate? How was that trip for you? How was Biarritz, the lifestyle, everything? End on a lighter note.
There's nothing dark about that. It's a personal preference. A lot of people like rugby by numbers, and it might not be that, but it looks like that. I would, if what I am envious of is the culture that Gregor Townsend created in the Scotland team. I'd love to be a part of that because it looks freeing. It looks confident. It looks wonderful. Whereas our generation coming through, it was a culture of fear and don't make mistakes, as opposed to go out and make some magic. So it's very different. But yeah, France, cannot speak highly enough of the Basque people, of the place I lived, of the French in general. I loved it. I would go back in a heartbeat, but it would not be to play rugby. It was forwards dominated. It was, on occasions, he who threw the last punch was captain for the next week. It was different, but the people were wonderful. The love being part of a town that's whole mood changed depending on how you were doing, and that was one of the reasons why I went out there, to get that partisan crowd and be involved in something bigger than the team. Because Edinburgh's a good club, really enjoyed it, but you could go around Edinburgh and you were anonymous. There'd be rarely people recognised. I remember being out with a few of the Kiwi lads in the morning, and people stopped to get their autograph, and I was just like, I played against it. Don't worry about it. No worries. So it's different, So went for a bit of that. But yeah, lifestyle, culture, just learning a language. Yeah, if anybody listening has a chance to go live in another country, do it. Just, you learn so much about yourself and different ways of the world, because in England and in Scotland, we're very lucky that everybody speaks English, and we can go anywhere and kind of get by. And often we go places that ruin it. Like we take our pubs or our food and stuff to around Spain or to So actually, if you get a chance to go and immerse yourself in a different culture, then it's a must, and it's something I'd love to do again at some point. I'm just not sure how and when.
Good on you, mate. Well, here, look, we've covered a lot, but it's been great to catch up. And please do, next time you're up this way, get in touch. Come out down
Yeah,
I'm on the East Coast. We'll get in that water and
I genuinely love it. I was up in the Cairngorms last week, literally just to get my feet in the mud, in some trees, and jump in a waterfall. So
that's it.
Yeah.
The simple things, get some simple training and some dad fitness. We'll do it all.
Yeah, but on note, if anybody does know about Nashy, your dad fitness, mate, that looks awesome.
Thanks, mate.
So yeah, I think that's wonderful, because as I mentioned before, people are talking about mental health, but actually, what are we doing about it? And actually, you're putting out, exercise is undoubtedly the best, one of the best things for your mental health. But not only that, you're connecting, you're talking, you're doing loads of good there. So well done.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it, mate. Take care. Great to catch up.
Good to chat, mate, and hopefully catch you soon.